We'll go ahead and call our board meeting to order. First is recognition.
We do have recognitions, and I want to begin with our champions of the month. We obviously honor every month. We have a student and a staff champion of the month, sponsored by Robinson Oil. We get a $50 gift card for those folks, as well as the championship belt. And very excited to announce our two champions. First, we're going to do our staff champion of the month. And let's see, is that person here? Yeah, okay, yeah, wonderful. I'm glad that person is here. Londa Tester. Londa lives and breathes Franklin County High School. She has led, this is from the nomination, by the way. She has led our English department over the last several years to higher test scores than we've ever seen. She has developed a writing program that is benefiting the entire school and uses her position as a literacy coach to help bring those skills to each classroom. She's in her third year publishing our Flyer yearbook, a 200+ page memory book that shows off all that we are thankful and blessed for and blessed to have achieved, a daunting feat that very few can do, much less well. She leads our Dinner with a Book program, which is fantastic, by the way, an opportunity for students to read along with adults in our building and throughout the district to show a love for reading and socialize at the same time. She is known as a mama figure to her students, providing sage advice when needed and snacks to make it through the day. She's always visible throughout the school, talking and laughing with students and colleagues alike. We are lucky and blessed to have Londa Tester as a member of the Flyer family and also as a member of One Team FCS. So for those reasons, she is our champion of the month. Thank you. Absolutely. Hold this up high. Let me get a picture.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
What school is that?
Dr. Beth?
All right. And for our student champion of the month, we are recognizing as our champion Blakely Belcher. Now, let me read the nomination form for Blakely here. Blakely is a growing leader who has taken on a large task of initiating and leading our recycling team. Since moving to our new school building, we have not been set up to recycle. Blakely saw this as a huge need and came directly to Mrs. Lodmell to request to lead the charge in getting us recycling. Blakely has organized the whole project and is now the lead member of our student recycle crew, who collects and sorts the recycling to be picked up weekly. This group is working to educate all of Collins Lane Elementary on proper recycling practices. We are so thankful to have Blakely, who is a student willing to take the lead when she sees a need and is making a huge positive impact on our school, community, environment. And for those reasons, we are blessed to have Blakely as a student and honor her as our champion of the month. Championship belt.
Stay in front of me, that way I'll be free.
All right. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3.
I'd like to say congratulations to our champions of the month, and thank you for being here as well.
I want to say something before she leaves. I just that was one of the things that I started when I was a master's, getting the recycle going. One of the big things I said, we had to reach out to our students to get the parents educated, and I am so proud of her for doing that. She's not only taking care of the resources we have now, but she's making it better for the people that comes after her.
Good job. Thank you. The next item of business is, are there any public comments?
No.
Seeing none. New business, revised board meeting schedule.
The revised 22-23 board meeting schedule is attached for approval. The working meeting on March 27th, 2023 has been changed to Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. The recommended motion is to approve the revised 22-23 board meeting schedule.
You heard the superintendent's, recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second? Second. And second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And no opposed, motion carries. Reading update procedures.
The updated procedure 08.2323 AP.111 is attached for a reading only. There is no need to have a motion.
Request to reseat the local planning committee.
The Franklin County Board of Education needs to request approval from the Kentucky Department of Education to reseat the local planning committee and consider an additional finding in order to change the current district facility plan at Western Hills High School and Franklin County High School for the following additions at both locations. Relocate, construct Franklin County High School track to be an 8-lane track so they can have meets. Resurface the Franklin County High School tennis courts that are desperately in need of resurfacing, and resurface the Western Hills track for the same reason. The recommended motion then is to approve the request to KDE to reseat the LPC as presented.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to reseat the local planning committee.
The motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
And second. Any discussion?
Yeah, where are they looking to put the Franklin County track?
Good question. So if you're where the current baseball field is, if you go beyond the outfield back there, there's a huge open space that we have, and they're going to put the 8-lane track back there, and the current bleachers that are on the visitor side for the football team, they're going to move down there so that they can actually have meets with fans. And when they build the track there, again, these are all subject to approval by you, of course, but when they build the track there, all of the field events will be inside the track, since there won't be a need for a football field.
So we'll get rid of the old
What's that?
track. We can get rid of the old track.
So they'll actually keep the old track just for, kids want to run or practice or whatever. But we do have the ability to do something with it down the road if we wanted to. Like, for instance, if we wanted to expand seating, but we do have that plan already in place to do the extra visitor side bleachers.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Construction, and the first item is, FCCTC Welding Lab.
Pay app number 2 from Deeks Electric for the FCCTC Welding Lab project is attached for your review and approval. The recommended motion is to approve the pay app number 2 from Deeks Electric as presented.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the welding lab layout. I think it's a good thing that we need to continue moving forward with that program.
The motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
And second. Any discussion? Mr. Perkins already discussed, so we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. I don't hear any, so the motion passed. All right, we gotta have a little fun once in a while. All
At
right,
my
next.
expense.
Yeah, but you'll get it back. Superintendent's personnel action.
Personnel actions taken since the last meeting of the board are presented for your information.
Reports from the council
Draft minutes from school site-based decision-making councils are presented for your review.
and attendance report.
The attendance report for month 6 is coming up with Mr. Sexton.
Good evening. I have month 6 attendance to report to you. We ended month 6 with 5,873 kids in the district enrollment with a district attendance average of 92.29. You will also find, and Ms. Cantor, thanks for asking this. I think it's going to be a nice addition. You'll also find in your all's packets now, you'll see a breakdown each month for elementary, middle, and for high school. So we'll be including that in your packets that you can also see. And then how we come up with the district average.
Tim, do we have a goal for the district for its average? for
The goal
year?
has always been 95%.
Okay,
And a few years ago, we were in the upper 94s. And it's just, trying to get back up there.
and it seems like, am I correct, the numbers are up for as enrollment? Are the numbers
We're
up?
actually down this month about 40 kids than we were last month. We've had some movement that it's gone on that it's caused some of that. And we also, we've had a few kids to graduate, so that also helps. If you just have different things that's going to impact it, but it's a little less than 40 kids that we're down this month. Because last month we were a little over 59, and this month we're at 58.
Any other, questions for Kyle?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Instructional update, instructional services update.
And so we have quite a few things going on in the instructional world. Some things that I talked about last month, we're still continuing. For example, I talked a little bit about that we were doing some curriculum work and curriculum planning and visioning for social studies at the elementary. We're now moving into the middle and high school world with social studies. This Friday on our staff day, we'll be working with some representatives from middle and high for social studies and science to really look at some visioning work for that particular subject, and also moving into creating some updated curriculum maps. So a lot of good work going on there. And then a month or so ago, I mentioned that we had a deeper learning grant. And so we received a grant from OVEC, one of our cooperatives, and we reissued that in the form of mini grants to teachers. And so we had 15 teachers receive that grant. And I mentioned it earlier, but one thing I wanted to let you know is they've had their second meeting, and they're really doing some great work together around project-based learning. And so the really interesting and great thing about these 15 teachers working together is it's across subjects and across grade levels. And we have one, I think, from 11, one teacher from at least 11 different schools. So it really spreads across the district and shows a lot of great work between peers across schools. So really exciting about the work going on with those mini grants and those teachers. Those teachers also will be presenting some of the work that they've done and some of the professional learning that they've been through at our summer institute. So they're going to re-deliver to other teachers. So some great work. And then we have one other thing that I want to mention, but I'm going to ask Mr. Charles Lewis to step up and talk about some exciting news that we have.
Yes, earlier this year, just a few months ago, as a board, you all approved a new position for a teaching and learning pathway. We hired that position, Ms. Laura Fallis, who's currently at Western Hills. She'll be moving into that. But with working with KDE and then one of our dual credit partners, BCTC, all 4 of those classes in the pathway have been approved for dual credit by BCTC, KDE. BCTC actually agreed to offer a couple classes that they have not offered. And my understanding is we'll be the only district in the state that have all 4 as dual credit. And the cool thing is kids can use their work ready dual credit scholarship. So they'll get 4 classes up to 12 college credits, and they won't have to pay for them out of pocket. That scholarship will cover. March the 2nd, Ms. Fallis and I actually went up to Educators Rising, which is the student organization attached to it. Think FFA. They meet every year. They compete. There's a bunch of different categories. Laura and I have kind of set a goal to have at least one team or student represent Franklin County Schools next year in that event. So it's really exciting. Thank you all, Mr. Cobb, for your leadership, the board's commitment to education, because we know we need more people in that, and the best way to do it is to grow your own. So a little update on that. Any questions?
You have done such a good job, they don't have no
Yeah.
questions for you. District facilities, Dr. Madonna, are you finished? Okay. Any questions for Dr. Madonna? Here now, we'll go ahead. District facilities update.
Okay, so we have several things that have been going on in the district for facilities. We are still working on closing out the Western Hills Franklin County Athletic Project as well as the CTC. We have punch list items that are still happening with some of our vendors in regards to that work. We have discovered that there are some new things that we had not accounted for regarding specifically the Western Hills project. That, for instance, like the shot put section supposed to have a 1% grade, and that wasn't accounted for in the planning part of that. So you'll be seeing some things coming back via change order in the coming months. We'll also have to revise the BG1 to account for the cost of what had not been accounted for in the planning process of that. For CTC, we're getting really close to the end. You saw there was another pay app on there today. We have just a few more things to close out, but I anticipate that'll probably be done sooner than the athletic project. For the central office demo, I met with Eric, our architect, today. We drew out what the scope of what we wanted the final project to look like after the demolition and to account for extra parking. And so he's going to then draw all that out for us to submit with the scope of work for our BG1 process with KDE. And then we also talked about the things that are going to be on the agenda this week for the LPC meeting. So you did see that we had requested to receive the LPC. If you noticed in your notes on that item, it actually said this is in addition to an LPC meeting that you had already approved. So I'd asked for it to be received, I believe, in January, but we had to then get the LPC roster revised and all of that approved from KDE. And so by the time we're seeing the LPC for some of those previous items, we had new items come up. So we're bringing all of those together collectively to the Thursday meeting. And then we are finishing up some assessments and damage quotes from the recent windstorm damages. We didn't really notice that we had too many write-off, but then some have started to kind of trickle in. And so I've asked Travis's group to gather all of that for me, and so that we can see if we can claim that with insurance. Any questions about any of?
Did we have very many buildings that was?
Not right off. So like we saw immediate things when we had the freeze back in December. But we did have a roofing company come in and do an assessment. And so we have, I think on Franklin County High School probably was hit the hardest. Their field house, the roof, and it has some damage there. Their tarp to the baseball field was damaged. I believe the soccer goals ended up somewhere else. So, and then, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm
We're
not
down to
100%.
the park, yeah.
Yeah, they're in the park. And then both football fields, from Franklin County and Western Hills, the goalposts of the football fields have been bent. And so we're working on getting quotes on all of those things together to see if we can meet our deductible for our insurance so we can get some of that claimed.
Do you have any kind of time frame when they may be ready for the demolition?
Well, I mean, Mark would like to see, or Mr. Kopp would like to see shovels in the ground this summer. So we're hoping to be able to get through that. Of course, it is a longer process, and I'm sure some of you are aware of that. When you have to submit things to KDE, you kind of are on their time frame and their response of things. But we've already put in our original request from the board to go ahead and pursue that. So that's already been submitted to KDE. Now what Eric's going to do is he has to then kind of price that out, because all of that has to then be put into the BG1, and then I'll submit that again. And then once we get that approval, we can move.
Well, I'm talking about when it's going to be put out for bid, people to bid on.
Well, once he has the plan from a potential like drawing of what he wants the scope to look like, then we'll get to that point. So it's kind of one of those steps that goes along the way.
And there's one thing we're going to be potentially adding to that, and then it's the resurfacing of the pavement there at the bus garage.
Right.
Just lump it in at the same time, because I think Brad's been asking for that to be done for quite some time.
6 years.
Yeah. And so we need to go ahead and put that in at the same time, two birds, one stone.
Yes.
That's the whole bus parking lot.
Yes.
But we don't even have like the blueprints and all of that drawn out yet. In fact, I actually have to get back with Trampus to see if we still have a survey on that space, so we can start from there in the planning process. So we're not to the point of bid yet, just yet.
Okay. I've just had several people, say, hey, where can I bid on this at or whatever, and I said, I don't think it's there yet, so if you happen to get that information, please let me know so that I can put that information.
Absolutely, I will. I will send that to you.
You can do it.
I don't want no part of it.
Are you finished there?
Yeah.
You did
I'm
very
finished,
good.
yes.
Thank you so much. You did very good.
Sir. She said, sir.
I think he said there.
I said you finished there.
Yeah.
He's trying to cause trouble. He's upset because he
But it
didn't
did
get
sound
to
like sir for a
Robert's
moment.
breakfast, so he'll be all right. He'll be all right. Update from the student board representative.
This is twice that you've got Garrett.
I know, I'm all by myself.
You can talk all about
I
him.
know. So I was just gonna talk about, we had districts a couple weeks ago, and our cheer team actually ended up winning districts, but it was very supportive, because even like the Franklin County, cheerleaders, they were so supportive, and it was like, not just a win like for us, but like for our county, because last year, we lost to Crossing. So I think it was just amazing. And then our boys put up a really, really big fight against Crossing. Unfortunately, they didn't get the district championship, but there was not a silent moment in that gym. There was like people from all over the district. Both schools were there. I know some people from Frankfurt were there. Everybody it was just like so supportive and loving. And it was like really a wholesome moment. Anyways, we have actually at Hills, we're having our Little Mermaid play presented this week. I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday. So if you can come out to that, we really appreciate it. We also have a Project Grad fundraising dance at Franklin County High School. Do it for juniors and seniors. And I think like overall, like this is just a really good way to begin the end of the year. Like I think district is really, really close right now, so.
You have a lot of parents involved in the project graduation. don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Any other questions for our student? Superintendent, thank you. Okay. Superintendent's report.
I'll share a few things here with you all. Thank you, Bella, for sharing that. That's great information, and I'd love to see the district come together like that. There are a few things just to keep you updated on in terms of legislation. So I want to talk about House Bill 5, which is the bourbon barrel tax legislation. We receive about $3 million from the bourbon barrel tax that currently takes place, and the bourbon industry has been fighting to have that tax removed. So there has been a piece of legislation introduced that we've been fighting against. It went to the, this past Friday, we had a legislative call with our leadership here in the state, superintendents, and with the School Board Association on the call. And the proponents of that piece of legislation, the sponsors, have agreed to some concessions. What they agreed to do with a separate House bill was to hold school districts harmless for any funds that they lose if that bill is passed. So what that would mean for us is that floor level of $3 million, what we are currently getting this year, in perpetuity, we will receive that $3 million payment from the, as part of the funding process moving forward, if this bill passes.
Through the state.
Yes. And there's, I don't know, I can't remember what the fund that they're going to use this, but they did list it in the piece of legislation. And we will have an opportunity to actually get a little bit more than that over the next few years. But the thing I wanted to, say that in speaking about this, we were we were encouraged to be thankful that they were willing to work with us and give us these concessions, which I am. I'm very thankful that we won't lose all of that funding. At the same time, I'm also cautious in saying that any future legislative body can outlaw that provision at any point. They could outlaw it next year and that money could be gone. So I do not, and will not support that piece of legislation simply because it will eventually put the burden on the taxpayers of this community and other communities instead of an industry that's thriving right now. So from my perspective, I can't support that. I will say it did pass the House this afternoon. We watched it live here on the computer, and it is now going to the Senate. They wouldn't have put it up for vote if they didn't think that they had the votes. So it looks like there's a very real chance that could pass and be signed into law or vetoed and then overridden. Who knows where we're at. House Bill 50, I also wanted to bring up to you, is still very much in play. That will require school board members to put an R or a D, or I guess an independent by their name. And the School Board Association is very much vehemently against this piece of legislation. What it could render is some folks who work for the state in different ways, it could make them ineligible because of the having to, state whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever. And so that would be a challenge. And we're very hopeful that does not pass. And I would encourage all of you and everyone in the crowd and everyone watching this, please contact your legislative. I think someone doesn't want me to say this. Contact your legislators and please ask them to not support House Bill 50. Having said all that, we've got some wonderful things going on in the district. I think you've heard about some of those tonight. I'm very excited about the teacher pathway. We had successful one-on-one scheduling over the last couple of weeks. That went very well. We've got a recruiting fair, career fair coming up that Mr. Murphy's in charge of in April. That's right around the corner. And believe it or not, graduation is coming upon us pretty quickly. So that May 27th, 10 a.m. at Western Hills High School and 6 p.m. at Franklin County High School. So very excited about all those things. And
And Bella's supposed to sing.
Bella has offered to sing whatever song that you all ask. So she will take the microphone. Any other questions?
One of the things I was gonna say, the way the legislature has got in the past, and I know back years ago when Obama had gave the school board some money and we thought, oh man, we're getting this extra money and we're gonna be able to do all these. Well, what ended up happening, the legislature come back and said, well, we're gonna decrease your secret funding. And so to make it, so we didn't lose any money, but they kept it evenly. So that has a tendency, like I said, when you're dealing with legislators, they have a way to beat you out of that in a sneaky way.
And I don't mean to speak against our local distilleries at all, because I love them as community partners. But they're gonna, if this passes, they're kind of getting a free ride because they already get credits, get 100% tax credits as long as they're building something, which they are. The Buffalo Trace is in the middle of a $1.2 billion expansion. So they get 100% tax credits on this money anyway. So, it's not like they're hurting, but they're acting very much like they are hurting. And we know what the bourbon industry is doing right now. That's where it's difficult for me knowing that eventually the burden could be placed on our taxpayers and we're going to get the blame for it as a school board. When in essence, we're in a really sweet spot in history right now, and that this bourbon industry is booming. We're collecting this revenue and we're able to finally buy textbooks for the first time in 8 years. And some of those other things that we've gotten from from COVID with the federal government thing. So you just never want to support anything that's going to take revenue away in any way, shape, or
I've been down there eating,
form. Understood.
Okay, thank you. The consent form?
The consent agenda is presented for your approval. A recommended motion is to approve the consent agenda as presented.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the consent agenda, let be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Before we leave, I'm so sorry that, Mr. Perkins did not go to Bondurant for breakfast, but we had a great time at breakfast. Sorry, Mr. Perkins, next time you'll get your email correct. But anyway, thank you. Did she go out of here?
Yeah, she just left, so she knew you was gonna do this.
I wanna-
She don't like you either.
I want to say thank you for what they did. I had a great time, didn't we, without Mr. Perkins. We had a great time with the young people there. It was a wonderful time. So I'm saying to you principals, get your, head on, because Mondra's have done you right now. Okay? She's not here to hear it, but that's her fault. Thank you all so much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Sir Charles, make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion made, is there a second? Second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried.